temporary, but still a frustration that can come up when you meet one of your edges and you're like, wait, I've already worked past this, that was years ago, why is this coming up now? And just having gratitude for this process and not becoming overly frustrated or feeling like there's any kind of like regression, or you know what I mean, like it's still all a part of this onward trajectory. It's just, yeah,
What is, it sounds like you're very good at being grateful that something comes up
yes,
that you're initially surprised at, and it's initially feeling as if, why is this coming up? I already worked on this. And what's your greatest wisdom in following the gratitude? How do you then proceed?
well, following the gratitude is I'm encouraging what I want more of, like it could be really easy to focus on, and this is both in myself and in relation with others, I could be really focused on the parts that aren't working, and could be just like, oh, like why did I have this response? Why did this person, communicate in this way? Why did, and I could be focusing all of my energy on what I don't want to create more of, which would then have disharmony in my body. It's like, or by starting, that's not to say I can't, give time or energy to navigating those more difficult thought patterns, but really starting with the practice of gratitude, it's like that, it's like if I understand my role as a creator, then I want the first and the last and the majority of my effort to be going into, well, okay, yeah, maybe, you responded in this way, or that could be better. And great job, like, not having a total meltdown in this situation, or a great job, like, taking time alone and creating the space or doing the practice or whatever it is that I want to be doing more of, that I know are helpful. And so having that be the basis, it just, I don't know, I think on a frequency level, it maintains the frequency.
I got it.
Yeah.
And I'm bursting to tell you something.
Okay, tell me.
This is well-established majority opinion you are echoing in the work on yourself, self-improvement, grow culture, where you and I and people like us have circulated. And you can trace elements of this wisdom back to the power of positive thinking. You can trace it back to all kinds of things, to Dianetics and Est, and focus on the positive. Don't give attention to the negative. If you're the creator, create what you do want, and so on. So I've said things to you like I'm about to say to you in the past, and it'd be good to underscore that. Notice what I'm about to say, however much it's a repetition, it doesn't easily stick. It's a revision that I notice I need to revisit numerous times. It's like teaching a new language.
Right.
You practice in different contexts.
Right.
The background of this is, after 40 years after Vietnam, I got psychic enough. You heard me say this. I checked trauma. My symptoms had improved. When I got psychic enough to test quantitatively. But I stumbled into asking, how about the underlying, is there something like traumatic energy or something like that? And the original and the current, unchanged after 40 years. I'd done a study for Congress, a book out. What? So a couple years later, these moves came, and I noticed I was able to make headway with the traumatic energy in a way that nothing else ever did. And I had to spend months and probably years contemplating what's going on there, and came up with, this is hugging. oh, I'm hugging what is embodied numbing, protest, cower. I'm hugging, and you've heard me call them little Mirandas
Yeah.
and little Isos and little Arties. So a facet of why practice this pattern is that we inadvertently rigidify ourselves inside mechanized routines, including move forward, be creative, don't harp on the negative, be glad you found it, now correct it and get what you do want. All sounds very, very commonsensical. Only I notice it leaves out. I notice first energetically. Why stuff comes up? Try listening to the coming up. For who's speaking in the coming up? And given your intuitive powers, my hunch, hypothesis, is you'll find some younger version of you who isn't satisfied with all the work already done, is not sufficiently cared for, and however much you may have fixed and fixed and fixed, needs most of all this. Doesn't yet feel included, so she can just simply and easily go along trusting she'll be taken care of. And the getting more of you want that's possible, that's positive, may happen more naturally, more organically, when you include this latest member of your inner family in a way where she feels properly sponsored by resonant maternal nurturing elder. You.
Right.
You in your current blossoming as mature, fully enfranchised, not only creator, but nurturer, caretaker, listener, leader by example, and in all the ways you know that are best. And you and I don't just get sentimental at the beginning of our meeting. We look at each other, we're touched, we let it in. We could be effusive and say all kinds of names. It doesn't mean something other than what it is, but what it is really very fine. And we both know it's very fine. And you tell me about all the angels in your life, and I know you have this with them too. This is the universal urge for this, the loving vibrance that just so resonates, consummates communing. All your little ones want that. And when you have stuff coming up, my bet is, what you'll find is, it's a veiled cry for, me too. I want some of that. I don't feel it here. It doesn't feel okay. I have to go along with the program or something. I don't know how to do yours.
Yeah.
That's an arty version of a little Miranda.
Yeah, pretty accurate. So pretty accurate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For however great your family is and amazing and your upbringing and privileged and spared the worst nightmares of all that kind of stuff, for sure there was fit in, hurry up. And by the way, don't assume everybody cares how you feel, you know. And get it done now, whatever it takes, all right? No fuss. Or something.
Right.
And it's not that we want to endlessly indulge every childlike whim. It's what ideally would be, we would have very few childlike whims when basking in such communing that from birth, our voice, our being, is accorded full recognizing as just as blessed a visitation ahead of heaven on earth as anyone else.
Mm. Mm. So you said it was when it was 40 years after Vietnam when you checked into your field and was able to identify that the trauma was not it was not interacting with you the way that it used to. Is that right?
I could tell that there's the best words I ever had for it, and I don't know that this is right, and I can't define this, but it sort of calls up something that I can locate. My symptoms were reduced, for sure, I could tell, but some underlying traumatic energy remained unchanged.
Mm.
I've since found with people, as well as myself, that while doing the moves in general can reduce general negative energy and bring soothing, the situations around which we most definitively, determinedly went like this, or this, or this, or no, need to be addressed directly and soothed, addressed directly with intent. And while moving, to send that intent all the way in.
Right.
The mental processing, the emotional processing, the corrective self-assertions, the reframes, all well and good, but they stay on top of the deeply embodied expression in our original language of expression, which is gesture.
Right. And so when you hold that intention, would you actually visualize the traumatic experience itself, or would you?
Visualize, talk to, listen for, but move at the same time.
Right.
Use all you got, but include moving. Understanding that moving is not just physical displacement of body parts.
Right.
You're speaking in the original way that an infant cries. The way you say, I love you, I'm here, you're okay, is you pick up, hold, and usually don't just stay still. Rocking in some way does something that saying still usually doesn't approach. And once these moves came, I found that rocking the way we're built to when we move is the most soothing rocking of all.
Right.
And it's not a definitive experiment, but when I put people, and they're usually women, I haven't done this with a man, on my lap in Yap Young, and I move, the transmission is amazingly powerful. That is by testing energetically how much the aura expands.
Right.
When we meet like this, your aura usually expands 2, 4, 8, 16 times. But if you were on my lap, and that felt safe and okay, and all that kind of stuff. 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 6, depends on how long. Probably twice to 3 times as intense transmission.
Right. Yeah, I definitely I definitely will try doing the practice with more specific intention in terms of, because it's like when I do it, I'm just not that I'm just not thinking about, I'm just moving, you know. I mean, not that I'm just moving, but you know what I mean. I'm not like, usually I'm not like sitting like, okay, like here's a traumatic experience that I had, let me go in with the intention of specifically working on this.
It's not, there won't be something you will get right away. Other than, oh, annoyance. Let me listen and
Right.
send some soothing. Talk to me, annoyed one.
Right.
I can fix you. I can go for the positive here, but let me make room for you. Who are you? What do you have to say? Is there something I'm not paying attention to or you want me to include? What would be good here? It doesn't have to be a protracted, long time journaling. It can be, but it doesn't have to be that, particularly given you. You're pretty witheringly intuitive.
Yeah.
You pick up all kinds of stuff quickly once you make room to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I'd love to find what you discover, along these lines. Artie, you're all wet. I don't have any shit like that. Man, you're weird. Or something.
Yeah, it's I'm really grateful for this connection for many reasons.